Many tanks from the 1940s, especially the German big cats like Tigers and Panthers, were not known for their reliability. However, if there was an example of a well-designed machine that was also quite reliable, it was the M4 Sherman, particularly BOM, a Canadian M4A2 Sherman. During World War II, about 50,000 Shermans were produced, and they exemplified an exceptional combination of mobility, armor, firepower, reliability, and ease of construction. The Sherman tank was considered inferior to Axis designs due to its 75mm gun and frontal armor thickness of roughly 50mm. The Sherman's reputation was tarnished for decades following World War II, owing to the widespread notion that it caught fire far more frequently than other, similar tanks. Today, historians have addressed many myths about the Sherman, and demonstrated that its wartime performance was statistically quite good, especially when compared to tanks of similar size and weight. BOM is a Canadian Army Sherman tank which landed at D-Day and fought across northwest Europe until the end of World War II, one of the few Canadian tanks that fought without interruption from D-Day to VE Day. BOM was an M4A2 Sherman tank, a diesel-powered Sherman version produced at General Motors Fisher Tank Arsenal in Michigan. The vehicle was assigned to the 27th Armoured Regiment Sherbrooke Fusiliers after arriving in Britain, and was soon to be part of the D-Day invasion. The name BOM was inspired by the cap badge of the Fusiliers, which features a stylized golden grenade. On June 6, 1944, BOM arrived at Juno Beach, which the Canadians were supposed to clear. It arrived a little after the first waves, but was thrown right into the middle of the battle. The tank fought in two German-occupied villages, Authie and Buran, shortly after arriving, and the crew was ordered to occupy those settlements. Battles in Normandy heated up as German Panzer and SS divisions attempted to destroy the beachhead, and the Allies attempted to break out. It was time for men, including BOM, to go inland once the majority of the beach's defenses had been neutralized. In the first 2 days of battle, the tank and the rest of the Sherbrooke Fusiliers claimed 41 German tanks as they advanced inland. BOM's commander and driver were injured in July and replaced, but the tank was still designated as the Troop Command Tank. BOM fought around Caen, participated in the seizure of the Bourguebus Ridge and the capture of the city of Falaise. Following the Allied breakout, BOM traveled 4,000 kilometers across northwestern Europe, helping to liberate northern France, Belgium and the Netherlands, battling the Germans on every step of the way. By 1945, the combined British and Canadian armies had initiated Operation Blockbuster, which would land them in Germany's Lower Rhine region's Hochwald forest. The Sherbrooke Fusiliers launched a three-column attack against the Germans defending the forested ridge in the early morning hours of February 26, after days of heavy bombing of enemy positions. The Allies had arrived in the Rhine region by noon that day. After this, they reached the Rhine River, a natural barrier preventing them from continuing their advance. Since the ground was muddy and wet, which was difficult for tanks to traverse, the crew improvised. They made BOM amphibious. By sealing all openings on the tank and wrapping it with compressed air hoses, they were able to float the 30-ton tanks across the Rhine, to the surprise of the German defenders. Baum carried on through Germany, encountering desperate, fanatical resistance, defending their homeland with nothing to lose. Baum's next assignment was to clear Germans from the Zuiderzee area, but not long after arriving, Baum and his crew received some welcome news: the war in Europe was over. Baum has driven through the battlefields of Europe without stopping from D-Day to Victory in Europe, or V-Day, one of only a few tanks to do so. By VE Day, Baum had shot 6,000 rounds in battle, had survived 2 enemy shell hits, and seen many crew members come and go, while never missing a day of combat. Despite the fact that it had been damaged during the action, the crew on board completed all repairs. Once the war had ended, Baum no longer had any use, and ended up in a Belgian scrapyard, waiting to be melted down along with tons of other tanks. Thankfully, the tank was saved from being scrapped, and sent to Canada as a monument to the fighting spirit of Canada's finest. It now stands guard over the William Street Armory in Sherbrooke, Quebec. In 2011, it was refurbished with information plaques and a wartime color scheme. If you have enjoyed the story of Baum, please subscribe and support the channel for more. Many thanks for watching.